Hi, I'm Marc Childs from Childs Davidson. Welcome to our video series on FMCG issues. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about integrated business planning. It's a topic that we hear increasingly about in business, and I thought it was worth exploring just exactly what is meant by IBP. Now, Childs Davidson offers what I believe is world best practice, integrated business planning solution. But in order for me to present an objective view of this, I decided I'd do a little bit of contemporary research. You know, when you look at IBP on Google, you'll find hundreds of process models. Everyone seems to have a solution on this front. So the question I suppose I'd start with is, why then are so many companies so bad at it? What exactly are they missing? So first, what is IBP? Well, Oliver White, who I'm sure most would say is well respected in this general space, says that it's the process that extends the principles of S&OP throughout the supply chain, product and customer portfolios, customer demand and strategic planning. Now, I agree with the general notion, but while I'm a strong supporter of S&OP and I believe it's vital to any business in its successful process management of requirements. And it's easy to see why Oliver White would be putting it at the centre of IBP process. There's not really much evidence that an S&OP process can be successfully built on to create an IBP process. That's certainly been my observation in doing best practice studies on 5 continents. In fact, my view is that the IBP process needs to be led by the commercial functions, category and customer strategy that reflects the revenue outlook of the business, and then integrated in real time into the baseline demand planning process that S&OP should be all about. We've done best practice benchmarking across hundreds of companies on 5 continents. Repeatedly, I hear companies say that one number across the business is the holy grail. Yet repeatedly, I also see that companies are running 3 or 4 sets of numbers. And what that essentially means is sales have their forecast or their expectation of what business outlook is, marketing has their own, and manufacturing go and make what they think needs to be made and ignore the rest. Or maybe not ignore it, but you know what I mean. They never quite come together. And the reason is that the business hasn't successfully achieved a consensus business plan and individual functions are running to their own sets of numbers. The consequence is that typically budgets that we spend 3 months a year working on tend to be a little bit unreal. And they remain somewhat disconnected across the functions. And of course, that weakens accountability. It's made worse by the fact that if you spend 3 months working up a budget and then top management or international management come back and say, we want 2% more profit, you don't go and spend another 3 months writing the budget. You fudge the numbers a little bit at the bottom and you say, yes, okay. That's my try harder scenario. We'll try harder to get the 2%. We'll change the bottom number, but it weakens the belief in the budget. It also makes it much harder as the years rolled out to do revisions. If you don't quite believe the budget, then doing revisions to the budget is a real challenge. And in fact, as the year goes on and we drift further away from what we said the budget was, we're massaging numbers and we want to get the outcome that we're being asked for, but it in the end might not bear much relationship to the budget we wrote in the first place. The fundamental problem is lack of consensus in the business across the function that forces people to reconcile their numbers and come to one consistent business plan. The fact is that if you don't have consensus across your functions, it's just inefficient, it's wasteful, and it's demotivating to the people involved, and it weakens accountability. I mentioned at the beginning that there are literally hundreds of different integrated business planning models that you can look at. But I agree here again with Oliver White that any solution needs to be technology-based. What's needed is a system of integrating the numbers, meaning budgets and latest estimates, across the functions so that not only does it facilitate a consensus approach to the business, it actually requires it. It actually means that the system won't work unless people agree on what the plan is and agree on what the numbers are. What you then end up with is real budgets, budgets that reflect what you're actually planning to do, latest estimates that track accurately where you are and where you're likely to end up for the year. And what that gives you is two very important things. One is agility, because if you know where you are and if everyone agrees with where you are, and if the plan isn't working, you can see that in advance and you're able to respond in a very consensus way across the business. And secondly, with lots of people interacting with an information system, requiring that they all do their part, you end up with a learning system because there's scrutiny and there's an understanding of response to actions taken so that the whole system gets smarter as it moves forward. Let me conclude by being more specific in what I mean when I talk about consensus business planning, because if you're going to achieve integrated business planning, you need underlying that a consensus business plan across the functions of the business. Here are what I see as the main elements. Firstly, best practice dictates that baseline forecasting and planning should be separated from incremental forecasting. And the reason for that is baseline is usually driven by demand planners using statistical models, whereas incremental planning is driven by activity undertaken with customers to drive incremental sales. Bringing those two together in real time is very important because they're two sides of one coin. In addition to that, any system of integrated business planning needs the ability for marketing and category planners to be able to scrutinize and slice and dice the plan from their perspective to be able to sign off on it and agree with it. Finance also needs the ability to scrutinize outcomes both in the planning process and also as the year progresses. So they need to be able to have a clear set of numbers that are agreed by the whole business that they can then keep score against. And then finally, latest estimate in particular needs to be accurately generated and tracked so that you know where you are at any given time in order to be able to adjust strategy on the run. I normally am very strict in sticking to editorial content in these videos, but I'm sure the viewer will forgive me if I plug our product a little bit here. Childs Davidson is in partnership with a software developer called Blueshift, and it has what I believe is the only genuinely integrated business planning solution available on the market today for FMCG companies. If you'd like to know more, we'd love to hear from you. This is Marc Childs from Childs Davidson. Thank you for watching.